Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplanty Goodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. Now for the people that have been here before, I'm in a slightly different angle, essentially, of the conservatory today because I wanted to talk about a plant that is, I think, a firm favourite for most people at this point, and you might be able to see some of the huge leaves behind me. Ignore the esmeraldens, also very pretty large leaves. But today we're going to be talking about the Philodendron Gloriosa. Now, I think I've done a couple of videos on this plant, but I wanted to touch base again and give a bit of an update just to give you an indication of the size of the plant at the moment. Let me just do a head test and hopefully that has given you an indication of quite how large the leaves are now getting. Now let's talk morphology of this plant. Obviously, you can see it's a heart-shaped leaf, most definitely a heart-shaped leaf. It is got a bit of a velvet structure to the actual leaf itself, so it's quite soft to the touch, and it has got lighter veination that goes in the middle. There are different forms, I think, of the Gloriosum. I'm not entirely sure which one this one is, but there's a dark form, there's one with silvery, kind of white, brighter stripes, essentially. I'm not entirely sure which one this is, but I do love it nonetheless. Now you might be able to see down here below, I do have it growing in a terracotta trough. So instead of it being in a regular planter, it's in a trough, purely because the way that a Gloriosum will grow, and again, you can probably see a whole bunch of other videos to see the growing kind of habit of this plant. This is what's known as a creeper or a crawler. So instead of it climbing up like you might see here with the esmeraldens, this plant will actually grow along the jungle floor as well. So the good thing for those of you that don't have an awful lot of headspace and you don't have a lot of places for the plant to climb up, this is a good one to grow because it will only ever get so tall, essentially, and that is by the petioles, and hopefully that is coming up. I can't move this plant, it is way too heavy for me to bring it in for more of a close-up basically, but essentially it's the petiole, which is the structure that attaches the leaf to the actual stem itself, and the stem is right there at the bottom of the, essentially on top of the growing media, and you can see that there's a new, you might be able to see there, maybe you might not be able to see there, but if not, do take my word for it, there is a new growing point there, and if I move these leaves out the way, there is a brand spanking new leaf, and you can see it's a bit more of a neon green there in the background that is emerging. Now, you might be able to see the issue of light level for this plant, because this is one that I was worried about because I don't have anywhere else to put it. It takes up so much space because even though it doesn't grow up, it can grow quite wide, essentially, or long along that growing line. And a few months ago, LA'd this plant, chopped it up, gave it to a very lovely planty friend that I have locally. And I think that one's doing quite well at the moment as well. But it also then meant that I released the apical dominance, and as we've talked about several times on this channel, when you essentially cut the growing stem, you release the apical dominance, and what that does is it means that the plant will actually branch out. So for instance, this one, if it was growing along one stem, it has now branched out into two different growing points. So at any given point now, I've got two leaves emerging rather than just the one, when it was just on the one growing stem. Now, with this, the thing to bear in mind in terms of lighting, coming back to what I was originally going to talk about, is because I don't have an awful lot of space, I've left it where it is on the shelf. It's probably getting medium to bright indirect light, probably not even true bright indirect light, but it's doing all right. The leaves are a bit darker, the veination isn't as stronger, but if you can see, the size of the leaves is absolutely huge. The other thing to remember about this plant is if you do get one, and if you've already tried propagating it as well, this bounces back quite quickly from a propagation anyway. Some plants, when you propagate from them, the first, second, or maybe even third leaf is a much more juvenile form. The propagated cut will revert back to, on a lot of plants will revert back to a more juvenile form. This Maybe the first leaf after you've cut it and on the new propagation will be slightly more juvenile, but it will bounce back really, really quickly to the original size of the leaves. It is a strong grower. I've had my own struggles with this plant, I'm not going to lie. I know for a lot of people this has been exceptionally easy. Maybe I'm a bit of an overwaterer basically, but it took me a while to get the watering just right for this plant. I was getting edema because maybe it was staying wet for a bit too long, but then at the same time, if I let it dry out a bit too much, then I'd start seeing other struggles. But I finally got it there. I think it might just be me. Don't take just my experience from this. Have a look online, have a look on YouTube for a lot of other videos. There's a lot of people talking about the Gloriosum purely because it is such a nice plant, an easy plant to grow, an easy philodendron to grow, and it's quite giving basically. I've never propagated this in any other way than other than air layering because I've only ever cut it once, but it is getting quite long now. It hasn't hit one of the growing points, hasn't hit the side of the trough. The other one has, so that area might get chopped up, just hopefully so it starts all growing in the front direction again. That would be nice. But yeah, other than that, I think in terms of pests for this one, the only real pest that I've ever seen on it, on a very, very rare occasion, tends to be spider mites. But again, if you've got a good neem oil solution that you use for other things for spider mites, that will do this one really, really nicely as well. And I'm trying to think. It's in my light airy aroid soil mix. It's obviously in terracotta. In terms of fertilizing with this, I don't skip a beat even in the winter. So every second or third watering, it will get fertilized. And yeah, it just keeps on going. I know from a lot of people that do grow this in regular household humidity. Obviously, I'm growing this in my conservatory, so the humidity level is a bit higher. But I know that this is not a plant that necessarily struggles in regular household humidity from what I've heard. I've not tried it myself. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say today about the Gloriosum. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, do drop them down below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. Tell me some of your experiences about growing your own Gloriosum, if you've had any struggles along the way, what they've been, what you've tried to do to solve it, and let's kind of build that community up a bit more again in the comments and just help each other out, essentially. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon. And I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.